What is up, you guys? I am Missy Renee, and in today's video we're going to talk about some more common misconceptions when it comes to manifesting. So if manifestation and conscious creation are topics that you are interested in learning more about, then definitely do not forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon so that way you're notified when I release new videos every week. If you are interested in more resources such as one-on-one coaching, I will have those links down in the description box below, so don't forget to check them out. And this video actually comes as a part 2 to a previous video that I made going over just a couple of the most common misconceptions when it comes to manifestation. So if you want to check that video out, I will leave that video up here and also down in the description box below. But the entire reason that I made this channel and the entire reason that I do what I do is so that you guys can have as clear and instructive breakdown as possible on how to consciously create a life that you want. Sadly, when we are new, it can be very, very difficult to really understand and interpret a lot of this teaching because there are a lot of different interpretations, a lot of different teachers, a lot of different gurus, and they all have their own way of teaching and expressing, and thus it can be really, really confusing on what certain things mean, and that confusion can lead to frustration, which we want to obviously avoid. So today I'm going to talk about 4 common misconceptions that I have come across, that I have been asked questions about, and break it down in a way that hopefully will make this much, much easier for you with that understanding going forward. So diving right into this with number 1, and that is that manifestation is easy. And this one is tricky because it is easy, but that's not the entire context, and context is everything. Manifestation is easy when you are in a state, when you are in a certain state. So I'm going to break this down so that you guys can understand a little bit better. As a lot of you are probably already aware, we're always manifesting. This is something that we are constantly doing. It has not changed. This is not a switch that we can turn on and off. We are always naturally creating our circumstances, our experiences, the events that unfold for us. We are creating all of it. So in that sense, manifestation is easy because it's something that we're always doing. That said, it's important to note that you are always manifesting easily and effortlessly from your dominant state of consciousness, and whatever that might be. Or essentially, you're always manifesting what you believe and what you assume is true. It's your beliefs and your assumptions and your expectations that ultimately determine your state of consciousness. And yes, we are constantly moving in and out of states of consciousness all the time, but everybody has a dominant state of consciousness that they always return to because that has always been your habitual state, or the one that has really cemented for you, the one that feels believable and real and like it's fact. But unfortunately for most people, this dominant state of consciousness is not always a good one, or not always one that we want to be dwelling in. For most people, we're dwelling in a state of fear, uncertainty, insecurity, doubt, and so on, which is why it seems that it is so easy and effortless to manifest bad things instead of good things, because that is all stemming from your dominant state of consciousness. And when that is a not so pleasant state, then yeah, you're going to easily and effortlessly manifest what you don't want. And I really cannot stress the importance of this one, because I see a lot of videos out there, I see a lot of posts out there that talk about how easy it is to manifest. And while this isn't a blatant mistruth, it can, for some, create an expectation for us that this should be effortless And therein lies the problem, because if your dominant state of consciousness, or the state that you often return to based on your beliefs and assumptions, is not lined up with the desired state of consciousness or what you want to experience and what you desire, then in a lot of cases, it's going to seem very difficult to do this. And if you have an expectation that this is super easy and this should be so simple to do, then that can further hinder you. Now, I don't want to seem like a Debbie Downer or a pessimist or anything like that. I just want to be really honest with all of you, because this is something that we need to keep in mind and something that we should know going into this, because I have seen it countless times myself. I fell into this trap myself of thinking this should be the easiest thing in the world. Why is nothing showing up? Why is this not working? What am I doing wrong? Manifestation is effortless. What's going on here? Well, what a lot of people fail to mention is that manifesting is easy from your dominant state of consciousness. When you are already in the desired state, then of course it's going to be easy for you. Of course it's going to be effortless for you. When you are already in a dominant state of wealth and prosperity, then you're going to manifest money like that. It's not even going to be an issue for you. When you are in a state of love and feeling beautiful and feeling powerful and confident, then yeah, manifesting a relationship is going to feel pretty effortless to you. But if we are not used to being in that kind of state, if we are not used to the beliefs that align with what we desire, it's gonna feel challenging. It's gonna feel difficult. And this boils down to the fact that we are creatures of habit. We have our habits and we like to stick to those habits subconsciously. We may consciously not enjoy our circumstances. We may consciously hate our circumstances. But nonetheless, your subconscious is going to keep putting you back into that dominant state of consciousness that lines up with what you believe and assume is true. It's when we try to change our habits, our habitual ways of thinking, it's when we try to discipline our minds, it's when we try to change those subconscious beliefs, that more often than not, people are met with resistance. And resistance, what it boils down to, is either fear of change or your subconscious way of trying to protect you from disappointment or failure, or both. For example, when people are starting out and they're new to this, a lot of people struggle with fighting against their own mind. They may be trying to affirm positive affirmations, and their mind will call them on their bluff. You may notice that they don't feel real to you, they don't feel believable to you, and that will cause a lot of frustration if you don't know what's going on. But that resistance is simply your mind wanting to refuse a change of concept, a change of belief, a change of habit. This is where the mental discipline comes in. This is where mental diet comes in. This is where persistence comes in. If what you desire does not feel natural to you, it's because that is a foreign and unfamiliar state of consciousness. And so naturally, it's going to feel difficult at first to really begin to move into and maintain and occupy that new desired state. Ultimately, if we notice that we are in a state that we don't want, we are aiming to detach ourselves from that state, or use the inner separation so that you are no longer attached to those beliefs and those assumptions. But this, in and of itself, is not always an easy feat. Is it doable? Is it possible? Of course, anything is possible. But to think that this is just so easy and that everyone just falls into it without any hitch and without any problem ever is misleading. You must learn to radically change yourself and your way of thinking. You must learn to redirect your focus away from what you don't want. You must learn to discipline your mind. It's simple, but it's not always easy. Common misconception number 2 is that living in the end is the same as pretending. And this is one that a lot of people get confused about. And naturally, it can be really upsetting and frustrating if you don't really understand the concept of living in the end. Living in the end just means that you have imagined your desired outcome, you have imagined and felt that reality in imagination, and thus you know that it's done and that it must come to pass. It does not mean that you have to pretend like you are right now in the physical 3D that person or already have that thing in the physical now. A lot of people feel delusional when this happens. When you try to convince yourself that you and SP are back together right now and your 3D circumstances are clearly showing you that that is not the case, you're gonna begin to doubt it. You're gonna begin to feel crazy and delusional and like you're fooling yourself. But that's not what we mean when we talk about living in the end. Living in the end knows that what you imagine precedes or comes before what happens to you in the 3D. So once you have imagined and once you have felt that reality, once you have felt yourself in imagination experiencing whatever it is you want to experience, it's knowing that there is no work left to do and knowing that it must show up, it must come to pass, that a bridge of incidents must unfold to get you from where you are to where you desire to be. Not that you have to go spending a bunch of money that you don't have to pretend and act as if you're a millionaire. So let's say that somebody has a desire that they want to be a successful business owner. They just started up their business. Maybe they have virtually no sales. They're scared, they're anxious, but ultimately they want to manifest a successful business. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to play pretend and again go spend a bunch of money that you don't have on upgrades and things like that. This just means that you would take a moment to ask yourself, what would it feel like if I now was a successful business owner? If I was the version of me that had whatever it was that I wanted, what would I be thinking? How would I be feeling? What would that look like? And then go ahead and use your imagination to put yourself in that position, in that state. You would probably feel a sense of accomplishment. You would probably feel a sense of pride. You would probably not be stressing about your next client or your next project or whatever it might be. And then once you have imagined that and you come out of the imaginal act back into the 3D, you know that that seed has been planted. And then all you need to do is to keep the faith that what you have imagined must come to pass. You don't have to avoid or bury your head from the 3D environment. It is just knowing and trusting that whatever you imagine, if persisted in, must come to pass. Common misconception number 3 is thinking that self-esteem and self-concept are the same thing. Now, I get this one a lot, and it can be really, really sneaky. But I have people come to me totally baffled, and they're like, Missy, I don't understand what's going on. My SP is acting like a total jerk, and they're hot and cold, and I don't understand. I have a great self-concept. I am totally confident. I love myself. I know my worth. So why is he acting like a total jackass? Why is she being so distant? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? And on it goes. Well, it's because self-concept is not the same as self-esteem. And what a lot of people mistake for self-concept is self-esteem. Your self-esteem is how you feel about you and your beliefs and assumptions about you. This will be things like, I'm not good enough, I'm insecure, or I'm confident, I know I'm worth it, I know I'm the shit. I know I'm great. Those all stem from your self-esteem, or how you feel about yourself. Your self-concept is the sum total of all of your beliefs, assumptions, expectations, perceptions, all of that. It's anything that you believe is true about you, about other people, and about the world around you. So if your concept about the situation is that they're acting like a jerk, they're acting like a stranger, that they're being cold, that they're being distant, that there's a third party, all of those are concepts that you are creating about the situation. You can love yourself and be totally confident and think that you're amazing, but if you are also clinging to the belief and assumption that they are this, they're acting like that, they're doing this, you're effectively creating those concepts or ideas, and thus they are going to manifest. So in this case, it's really important to pay attention to the story that you are telling yourself. What are you confirming about your situation? Is it good or is it not so good? Is it wanted or unwanted? And self-esteem is a very important aspect of your self-concept, and it should not be overlooked. But it's also not the entire story. We also must be mindful of what we are affirming and what we are confirming about the other, about other people, about your circumstances. All of those are going to play a critical role in how your events and how the circumstances unfold. And lastly, number 4 is that you don't need to believe it in order to manifest, or you don't need to have the belief in order for it to manifest. No. No. Belief is an incredibly powerful aspect to all of this. And some people claim that you don't need to believe in your manifestation in order for it to come to pass. And this is not true. This is simply not true. You, at the very least, need to believe that it can happen. You need to believe that this is a possibility. This is one possibility out of infinite possibilities. You can experience any one of them you want. At the very least, you need to have faith and trust that through God or through imagination, all things are possible. And you need to have that faith in the law. Without it, it is going to be a struggle. The definition of belief is having trust, faith, or confidence that something is going to happen. Belief is almost completely synonymous with faith. And as I've mentioned millions of times, you manifest anything that you believe is true. You manifest what you assume is fact or what you have faith in. You need to have a belief or faith that what you imagine must come to pass, no matter what it is. And I understand for a lot of people who are new at this, it can feel very, very difficult and challenging to have that belief that this could happen. But that is where faith comes in. And if manifestation can be boiled down to a simple formula, that is imagination plus faith. Many, many people like to talk about the imagination part of the equation, which is a must. Your imagination is your creative tool to change things. But I don't see enough emphasis on faith. And I'm actually going to be coming out with a video soon to really break down the importance of both of them. This is why it is so important to learn to build our faith. This is why it is so important to keep persisting through any resistance that we're met with in order to get to a place where we are fully and complete in control. We are the creators and we determine what happens. Imagination without faith is just daydreaming. Faith without imagination is just hoping. But combined, this is the power that will get you anything that you want. And Neville has a fantastic excerpt talking about the importance of belief that I want to share with you all today. Divine imagining has no restrictions placed upon it. Human imagining has one restriction placed upon it, and that is to believe. All things are possible to him who believes. So they equate man, he is speaking of you, with God, but on this level it is believing. Can you believe it? There is no other limitation other than man's capacity to believe what he has imagined. All things are possible to him who believes. So, the only restriction placed upon man is his ability to believe what his reason, what his senses deny. That's all. No other restriction. Our God is in the heavens, and we are told that heaven is within you. In the 17th chapter of the book of Luke, God is within you. If he is within me, what in me does anything that it pleases? Nothing but my imagination. I can imagine anything in the imagine, but as man just upon me, I must believe it. If I can persuade myself of the reality of that which I have imagined, no power in the world can stop it from coming to pass. Man creates his objective world out of imagination and faith. These are the substances out of which he actually projects and objectifies his world. There is nothing but God, and God is man's own wonderful human imagination. So absolutely, you do need to have this faith. You do need to have a belief that what you have imagined must, if persisted in, come to pass. This means being very mindful of what you are accepting as true. This means being mindful of what you are accepting as fact and what you are taking as fact. We can imagine anything we want. We can imagine the most spectacular and incredible things. Through our imagination, anything is possible, but we must be able to keep that faith and persist in that knowing that what we imagine ultimately becomes our experience. And I know starting out that a lot of this can get very confusing. I know that it can feel very frustrating, especially when we don't have a very clear understanding of what we need to do and a clear understanding of how to actually apply this, which is why I aim in every video that I put out to demystify this whole process and to give you just that much more clarity and that much more strength and that much more confidence in you as the creator. Because once you have fully grasped and accepted this, and once you are able to have that unshakable faith and that knowing that all things are possible to him who believes, you will inevitably and ultimately master anything you want. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to check out any of my other resources. I'll have links below to one-on-one coaching, my blog, my social channels, my podcast, all of that good stuff you can find down below. Also, do not forget to check out these videos over here. Each video is a different topic, but it all relates in how to manifest the best life possible. So until we meet next time, you guys, take care, be well, and never forget how powerful you truly are. Happy manifesting, y'all.